I know you know it's true. There's seasons in our life where things just feel like they're accumulating. It's not just one thing. It's not a big catastrophe, but it's these little micro things that happen. See if this sounds familiar. There's some disappointments at work. There's some conversation you know you need to have, but you're struggling to do it. You're watching someone you love make decisions that are terrible for them, but you can't say anything. Financial pressures mounting. There's some family tension. You look down and you don't recognize your body anymore because you are in midlife. And different things are happening over and over again in little incremental steps that make you feel like you don't know who you are. Yeah, welcome to midlife. Although we're not going to say welcome to midlife and just send you on your way. We're going to give you some help to go along with it so that you can go on your way and feel a little bit more peace. This is Getting to After. Welcome. So my name is Chatone Morrison. I'm the Princess of Positivity. And typically I have my co-host Morgan Busas with me. This week it didn't work out for us to tape together, so you've got me. I want to share with you today that even though you are very capable, even though you're able to multitask, even though we're not supposed to multitask, even though I know good and well you're multitasking, even though you're getting all the things done, perhaps because it's not a catastrophe, the house didn't burn down, there hasn't been a hurricane, you are able to allow these little things to kind of accumulate and kind of deal with them. I just want to level set this conversation by letting you know that even though you're able to do that from the head up, your body said no. Your body is literally saying, I am trying to deal with all this. Sometimes we're just walking around answering emails, cooking dinner, showing up for meetings, dealing with our young adults or teenagers. You know, we're taking care of everyone at a certain level, but the body is carrying the argument that happened 2 weeks ago. It's carrying that very difficult situation at work that you're unable to handle because it's not within your realm of, authority. The body eventually is going to ask you for relief, whether you're used to giving it to her or not. So today we're going to talk about some ways that you can do that. One thing I've learned recently, and definitely is working with myself personally, is that suppression takes energy. I recently did a somatic deep dive. If you've been following me for any amount of time here in the podcast, that I've been studying somatics for the last almost year. I started last July, and so it's almost a year since I've been getting more into what's happening on the inside of the body, interoception, all the things that are taking place that we may not always be able to see, and we think we can think ourselves out of them. The body is saying, I need you to let this energy out, and sometimes we never close the emotional loop. So while these things are happening, they're just escalating. It's not good for us. It actually costs something to constantly hold emotions down. And it's a funny thing because I was in a class just a couple of weeks ago and I thought to myself, I always knew that. But not the way it was instructed. That's why I love learning. I'm a lifelong learner for sure. Sometimes what happens is we feel like we're not able to tell the truth, but our body is going to tell the truth for us no matter what. The body's not going to calm down. So sometimes when you're as a midlife woman, you're having those sleepless nights, you are kind of tossing and turning and you're blaming it on the night sweats. It's not always that. It could be something else. I'm personally naturally a hopeful person. I look for the light. I look for the beauty. Truly, right now, and with my sister, yesterday I was down on the ground photographing teeny tiny flowers because they were so cute and they were so small. I look for the beauty in everything. I look for the meaning. I look for possibility. That's why I am the princess of positivity. And yet I don't believe that positivity means you overlook the things that are happening around you. Positivity doesn't become performative for me because I believe in reality. I think you must be tired of performing while privately holding all this emotional weight. The body is going to participate with you. And this is what I've been learning. This is what I want to share today. When life hurts, the body participates, even if you're not paying attention to it. So what we often call tension, we don't break down to what that means. We just come out with, I feel so tense. I have so much stress. Girl, I got so much going on, right? That's what we take it down to. But I would like to invite you to think about if you're in a stressful situation or recently you've been having some stress or something like that, life's been hurting you in different ways. Look at how that looks on your body. And if you'll go back, I'm going to try and find the podcast where Morgan and I talked about this back in the beginning of April, I think. This is kind of a theme we're going to be talking about because it's something that most of our clients and many of them we talk to say they need the most. And so looking at your body and thinking, where are you holding that tension? When we're tapping, we're always asking you about that. One of the things that happens is your jaws tighten up. If you ever are sleeping, that's where it happens the most. So when you wake up and it feels like you can't move your jaw, it's because even though on an intellectual level, you're not dealing with something that's happening, or you're able to kind of push it down and suppress it because you've got to multitask and keep going, the body is going to let it out at some point. And sometimes that's in the gritting of the teeth. The grinding of the teeth, you know that when you wake up and your jaw hurts. Sometimes it's when you're during the day, and we talk about this, right? When your shoulders are by your earrings, right? You're wearing your shoulders as earrings, which is why when we start tapping, I always tell you to kind of roll your shoulders. And if you're here in the live or you're in the replay, just do this with me. Just take your shoulders up, back, around, and down, and you'll notice how stiff they feel. Sometimes it's emotional eating. You find yourself in a bowl of chips. You didn't really want it. You weren't really hungry. Maybe you don't even eat chips anymore, but you find yourself at the bottom of more than one bowl of chips. Sometimes it's in that incredible exhaustion that your body is saying, I need sleep, but you can't give it to it because you're trying to figure out how to get all the things done. And so you're exhausted. Sometimes it's in overthinking, irritability. I already mentioned your mind racing at night. And sometimes, and this is the one you talked about a couple of weeks ago, is that tears just arrive at the strangest times. And when those kind of tears arrive, that is your body literally saying, this has to come out. And it's interesting about tears. I'm doing some research about tears. And if you know a lot about tears, please go ahead and put it in the comments. I think tears are fascinating. Learning that our tears are different. Everybody's are different, right? When life hurts, tears are going to come out. You literally can't suppress tears. I mean, one way that one of my coaches taught me to do it is by holding my head up. And she said that they will have to go back, but it doesn't work because mine just go down to the sides, end up in my ear. I don't need that. The body is not betraying you. Your eyes are not betraying you. They're actually trying to communicate. Your body is trying to say, hello, hello, is anyone listening? We got some trauma going on down here. We got some chaos in here, and we need you to pay attention. Many of us as midlife women have spent decades overriding these signals, decades overriding these emotions, decades pushing them down till we got arthritis. That arthritis is not from typing on your computer. That arthritis is from pushing down your emotions. Of course, I'm being facetious. There is a big difference between expression and suppression. And I think this languaging, I talk about expressing emotions a lot, but this idea of suppression, I think is so interesting because as midlife women, we're pretty good at it. Now, we're also good at expressing. We will yell at you. Don't be a teenager and be around us. And don't be a mama. Like, we're going to tell you. But sometimes the way that we're able to express our emotions, it feels reckless. And so we say, nope, I'm not going to say anything. So we even physically, it's like, nope, I'm going to draw back, climb up. If you didn't see last week's episode, we talked about this when it comes to decisions that we're making and other people have issues with those decisions. We kind of draw back, and that may be a protection. But at some point, you've got to express that loop of emotion. You have to let it out in some way. And it doesn't mean it has to be in a negative way. So here's a couple of the things that when emotions arrive, that you want to express them and get them out. Ways of doing it. Of course, I'm going to start with tapping. I'm going to start with tapping and end with tapping. Tapping along with us every Tuesday morning is one of the best ways. Joining one of our midlife tapping circles is a great way. I'm going to tell you why, because there are things going on in your body that you may not even know what it is, and tapping will get it out. I'm just going to start there. Another way is through writing. If you've been with us through one of our Fat and Happy Tapping Tuesdays, where not only do we tap, but we also do some writing exercises. Writing is great. It's kind of simple and easy. It doesn't have to be a big journal entry. It doesn't have to be a big diary. It could literally just be bullet points. It could be just getting this emotion out. It could be writing what the emotion is over and over on the page. I am angry. I am angry. I am so angry. Do you know by the time you get down to 8, 9, 10 times of writing the same thing over and over again, you will start to write about what you're angry about and you will be able to release it. It's amazing. I've never taught that here and Get Into After. Got to teach that one. It could be through honest conversation. That conversation may not be with the person, it may be first through prayer. So maybe you take that to God and you start to pray and you start to emote what needs to come out. It could be through creativity. Many of you know that I like to do drawing. If I raise my hand, you know this is one of the things that I do. Actually, I do all of these. You may need to draw. You may not be someone that's an artist. That's okay. You can go on up. There's actually someone I'm hoping to get on the podcast soon, and she talks about drawing. Not about drawing because you have enormous skill. I don't have enormous skill, and yet I consider myself an artist. So I have some art mediums that I use, and that helps me to get some stress out. Through the breath, so through a good somatic breathing exercise, make sure that you get our magazine, Getting to After the Spring Edition. Morgan, my co-host, did an amazing job at the breathing room. It's a session we put every single time exclusively to subscribers or those who purchase our magazine. Our magazine helps those women who are coming out of domestic violence. So you want to get it, it's only $10. There's a breathing room in there where Morgan gives you an audio of a beautiful breathing session, somatic breathing session. So you probably want to do that. But what's the point? The point is emotions need more because they will become heavy if we decide not to ever release them. Emotions do not need to become your identity. So you feel angry, and because you never express it, you become the angry coworker. Emotions do not become your identity. You constantly use food to emote, and you become this heavy person, or a person who has disordered eating, or someone who's always on a diet, someone who always talks about food, always talks about these issues that you're having with food. They're trying to express your emotions. So it doesn't have to become your identity where people call you that type of person. It just means that you need to let them out. You need to allow the emotions to have their full say. Now, let's say you do that. Then what? Then what? You know, bad things happen in life. They do. We all know that. People disappoint us. Plans collapse. Relationship shifts. Our bodies shift too, downward mostly. And then you have to think about then what? What do I do when that happens? What do I do now? And one of the things is learning how to process honestly while things are not working, so that you still have joy available. You know, as I've been seeing my mom, and you know, she's really elderly, and I wouldn't say she's frail, but she doesn't have the energy or the strength that she used to have. And as a very part-time caregiver, my big sister is amazing. She does most of the work, and I'm here periodically. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank her right here, because I know she can see this. You're amazing. Thank you for doing it. And maybe you have that too. And maybe part of your emotion is the disappointment in yourself that you can't be there as much to take care of someone. In midlife, sometimes you can't be the one. There may be different circumstances that are not allowing that to you. The emotion will lay there until you tell that person thank you. The emotion will stay stagnant until you say, okay, what do I need to do? So that's where the then what pivot comes up. Once you recognize that this emotion is here, once you say to yourself, oh, you know, I feel this way, as opposed to bottling up, you know what you can do? You can realize bad things happen. Some situations and circumstances are taking place, and I can't do anything about it. I live in Maryland. My mom lives in Tampa. My sister lives very close to Tampa. And so therefore, my sister can be the one. I can feel guilty and become just a guilt-ridden person where all I do is talk about it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I'm not the one, you know. And you see how it starts to like, no, don't, you know, that's not it for me. And that's only one of the things. I've got plenty of other things too. That's one of the biggest ones that stays with me all the time. Of course it does. My mother is elderly. I'm going to think about her all the time. I'm also going to think about the fact that my sister is taking care of so much. Is that going on in your life? Maybe it is. And it may be heavy on you, especially if you're also still raising young adults. And I say raising young adults. I didn't say raising teens. I said young adults, because if you're a midlife mom and you have kids and they're in their early 20s, you still raising young adults. I don't care how responsible they are. I digress, but you know damn well that's true. The things that we talk about here in Getting to After seem pretty small, and people have told us that can't possibly change anything for me. Get the spring magazine, because Morgan and I used to be naysayers too. We used to think that's not possible. That's so small. What do you mean a breath, right? How can that do anything? But it does. So before we move into tapping today, everything we've talked about so far, I want to see where you find yourself in this. So think about what we've been talking about, what's maybe feels chaotic or what's silently accumulating, where is life hurting for you, and just kind of give yourself a numbers. Chatone, I'm feeling, maybe it's like I'm at a 6, pushing toward 9, or maybe, I'm at a 1 on many of the things you talked about when you start talking about the way I feel about my body, moving into summer. Maybe that's more like a 9 or a 10. Or maybe, I haven't been able to see my mom or my dad, and someone else is doing the caretaking. Maybe they're even, in a long-term facility, and you're thinking there's a lot of guilt inside of you for that. There's no one to talk to about that. Sometimes, with some of the women that we have talked with, me personally, there's the guilt of how could I feel bad because I can't care as much for my elderly parent or elderly grandparent when my best girlfriend's mom passed away. So it feels like at least I still have my mom. So there's people I can't talk to. And so the emotions get suppressed because you don't have a place to talk about them. Make sure you remember that we have the Midlife Tapping Circle. You don't have to come to one of our tapping circles with the world on your shoulders. It could be the world on your shoulder. It doesn't have to be that anyone else judges that as a big deal. It could be a big deal to you. And if it's weighing you down and you're repressing and suppressing because of it, it's worth tapping it out. So before we move into tapping, I'd like you to just think about that. Give yourself a moment to just arrive right here. And we're going to do I'm going to just have a little conversation with your body right now. And ask you to do a little bit of this with me. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to put your feet firmly on the floor and just feel the support beneath you. So I'm in actually a chair that I really kind of want to break down a little bit because it's a little bit tall. It's hard for me to touch the floor right now. But if you can, keep your shoes off and put your feet firmly on the floor. And I want you to feel the seat beneath you. Or if you're listening to this and you're outside, take your shoes off if you can. Wash your feet when you get back inside. Don't worry about that. But place them on the floor and really notice how the ground feels beneath your feet. Or if you're in a chair, think about your sit bone, think about your bottom, think about your thighs and your legs. How do they feel in the chair? This is not a meditation. This is just a way of getting you to arrive in this particular moment. We're not going to ask you to clear your mind or anything like that. But just how do you feel right now? Just noticing the support beneath you in the chair. I'll tell you what I notice. I'm in an office chair that has mesh. And so I kind of feel my legs. I feel my thighs, the flesh on my thighs. It's not hurting, but I just feel that. Just feel that. Just settle into that for a second, wherever you are. And now what I want you to do is feel about the support. Where can you let go? Where can you let go? Maybe if you notice that you feel yourself kind of always holding your breath in, just kind of relax your belly, relax for a moment. Now the next thing I want you to do is just notice your breathing. You don't have to change your breathing right now, just notice it. Is it shallow? Is it deep? Is there a place where you can slow it down just a little bit? And then, of course, we've already talked about your shoulders, so we're going to notice your shoulders. I'm not going to tell you to put them up, back, and down. If you feel like doing that, do that. But just notice where they are. I like doing this motion with my fingers. Where are my shoulders? How high are they? How tight is my jaw right now? And what does my chest feel like? So those three things, your shoulder, your jaw, your chest. Feel your chest. You can put your hand here. And then ask yourself the question, what is my body carrying today? What is my body carrying today? You can ask your body, what are you carrying today? What emotion have you been trying to rush past lately? If you live in the United States, you may have had a long weekend. You may have had off yesterday, or maybe you had to work and everyone else was off. And so, you may have had some emotions about that. What emotions have I been pushing past and rushing past because they don't seem important? Take a breath there. Another one is, what disappointment keeps you playing quietly underneath everything else? What disappointment? For what I need. What disappointment have I been having that I've just been pushing past, but it keeps replaying underneath everything else? Put your hand on your belly. Take a breath. Take a deep breath in. Through your nose, hold it for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let it out. What disappointment keeps replaying quietly underneath everything else? And then what conversation feels unsettled or unfinished in your body? In other words, what have you been trying to be strong through that you actually know that your body is probably trying to process? What conversation is living unfinished in your body, and what have you been being strong for? Take a deep breath in. And let it out. Sometimes people tell me they don't like when I do this sound, like shh with the breath. I've been learning recently that that's a good way to do the out breath, but some people have told me that when they do that, when I'm asking them questions, they feel like they're telling their body to be quiet. So if making the shh sound on the exhale doesn't work for you emotionally, then make an audible sound like ah. That's okay too. Now, we're at just the end of this breathing. We're going to do a couple more breaths. You don't need to solve anything in your life today. Just think about it. Think about if life's been hurting in different elements, what can you do? If there are unfinished conversations or disappointment, what can you do about just the fact that you're feeling those things? Can you allow yourself just to feel them, just to acknowledge them? This moment right here is for that acknowledgement. Take a deep breath in and out. Allow the exhale to be a little bit longer than the inhale. This last breath in through the nose. And while you hold that for 4 counts, remember, let the body receive the message that it's safe to soften just a little. Do your exhale. Exhale longer than your inhale. Because sometimes healing begins just when you stop arguing. Stop arguing with what you feel. Stop pushing the emotion down. You'll start to feel a little bit of healing just by doing that. And when I say healing, I mean allowing your emotions out without hurting anyone, without hurting you. Right now, we're going to get into a little bit of tapping. All right, so the first thing we do when we're tapping is we start on the karate chop point right here. And we're going to make a statement that is the reality of how you might be feeling, I'm guessing, based on our topic today. And I did pre-write this, as I usually do, because we're not talking. We're not talking. This is a composite of different people I've spoken to. All right, here we go. Even though I've been carrying disappointment, stress, and emotional heaviness, and some of it has lived quietly inside my body for way too long. I give myself permission to begin releasing what I no longer need to store. This ring is going to bother me. Let me take it off. Even though I've tried to stay strong, capable, and composed through so many difficult things, there are emotions inside of me that deserve acknowledgement. And I am open to creating space for honesty, relief, and release. Even though life brought experiences I did not choose. And I wish it hadn't. Wishing doesn't bring release. I do not want my pain to become my emotional home. And I am willing to allow my body to soften into truth, to release, and to the knowing that I completely love and accept myself. So gently stop tapping, and you can take a deep breath in and out. Eyebrow point. This has been heavy. Side of eye. My body feels it. Under eye. The disappointment. Under nose. The emotional buildup. Chin. The stress I've been carrying. Collarbone. Trying to hold everything together. Underarm, trying to keep functioning. Top of head, while carrying so much eternally. Eyebrow. Some of this hurt me deeply. I was worried. Side of eye. Some of it exhausted me. And I couldn't say anything. Under eye. Some of this changed who I am as a woman. And I've been holding it quietly. Under nose. And I've been holding it quietly. I've been holding it in silence. Chin. Inside my body. Collarbone. Inside my heart. Underarm. Inside my thoughts. Top of head. Inside my daily life. Eyebrow. I no longer need to suppress everything. I'm learning that I no longer need to suppress. My emotions deserve space. Under eye, my body deserves gentleness. Under nose, I can let things go safely. I can work through it. Chin, I can express honestly. Collarbone, without shame. Underarm, without minimizing myself. And without minimizing the truth. Top of head, without pretending I'm not affected. Here's what I can do instead. Eyebrow point. I can write it out. Side of eye, I can talk it out. Under eye, I can walk it out. Under nose, I can pray it out. Chin, I can tap it out. bone. I can breathe it out. Underarm. Let these emotions move. Instead of storing them forever. Gently stop tapping, and I want you to think right now about how do you feel from the time you began to now. We're going to do one more round of tapping, but hopefully you're starting to feel some release, that permission, opening that door that you can. Let's do one more round. Eyebrow point. I can feel deeply. Side of eye, without becoming consumed. Under eye, I can honor my emotions. Nose, without living trapped inside them. Chin, I am learning to release. I am learning to release with kindness. Elbow, I am learning to allow all of it to soften. Underarm, learning to move forward honestly. Top of head, one step at a time. Okay, stop tapping. Go ahead and breathe in deep. And release. You know, difficult things are a part of being alive, unfortunately. Right now they are. Not always, but they are for now. And emotional suppression does not have to become a lifestyle. It has become a lifestyle. It has. It's become the way that stalwart midlife women make it through. And then people say, man, she's so strong. But typically those of us who look the strongest are suppressing something so deep that if we let it out, everyone around us would be amazed that we're holding it together. Remember, you don't have to let all your emotions out in front of everyone. You can do it in front of one person. You can learn to do it by yourself first, and you can definitely tap with us because we are all about helping you just go forward each day, feeling better than the day you did before. We don't offer perfection, but there is a way of healing some of those emotions that you pushed down so far that you've got arthritic hands from pushing down emotions. You deserve support. You deserve moments where your nervous system just go, right? You take the Spanx, you take the waist trainer, you take the girdle off of your nervous system. Take it off. I want to thank you for sitting with me today and taking care of yourself gently this week. Next week, I should be back with my wonderful co-host, Morgan Bustos. Make sure you get our magazine so you can not just have this breathing and this tapping, but everything it has to offer in our magazine. Those are exclusive to subscribers and purchasers of our magazine. And just so you know, again, the reason why we have a magazine is because the proceeds help us to support women who are in transition from domestic violence, helping them to get little self-care kits that we give, and this helps us to pay for it. So this is not a profit-making operation. This is to help the women that we have a mission to help. So make sure you get the magazine. You can get it at bit.ly/G2A-spring, and I'll also be in the description box below. Thank you for hanging out with me. I hope this was helpful. Give some comments below. Definitely like, subscribe, share, all of those things, and make sure you're coming back. We will see you soon. Don't forget, I am Chatone, the Princess of Positivity, and you can release your negativity so your positive can reign. And in the meantime, until I see you again, be authentic, be brilliant, and be a catalyst. Mwah! Take care.